The first video I'm going to share is how to make Cuban style black beans. These black beans are awesome served with just steamed white rice, or the very next day I actually make them into refried beans or use them in chili. So I usually will make a whole package so that I can then use whatever's left over for a different dish. I hope you enjoy. Here are the ingredients that I actually use to make the black beans. I usually use one really large onion, but in this case they're pretty small, so I'm doing two. A few cloves of garlic, a bag of black beans, some olive oil, some red wine. I usually will just use something that I would drink because I won't use the entire bottle. Some green bell pepper, and I usually use some roasted red peppers that I find in a jar at HEB. But being that I don't want to go to HEB right now, I did have some red peppers and I went ahead and roasted those. Salt and pepper, and I will be cooking it today in a pressure cooker. So the first thing I'm going to do is dice everything up, and then I diced up the onions, the garlic, the red pepper. I left the green bell pepper whole because I'll probably just be fishing it out later. I forgot to mention that I do put a couple of bay leaves on the pressure cooker. I went ahead and hit saute. I'm going to add a generous amount of olive oil. Looks like I need to go to HEB here. Once that gets warm, it should be pretty warm, I'm gonna add all the onions and garlic and let that saute until it's soft. In the meantime, what I'm gonna do is go through the black beans and make sure that there's no little debris in there. For the longest time, I would go through it and clean them out and make sure there's not any kind of little rocks or anything in there. And I never really found anything, but that one time that I actually didn't do it, what happened? There was a little piece of rock in there and I almost bit into it and broke a tooth. So I now definitely go through the beans and sort them and make sure that there's nothing that shouldn't be in there. So here are the black beans, and normally what I'll do is I'll just kind of go through it and just pick out any imperfections. I'm sure that these are totally fine. They're just broken beans, but I normally just take them out just in case. And then I just separate the clear, clean beans. Just take out anything that kind of looks funny in there. And then once they're all kind of cleaned out, I give them a rinse because they tend to be a little dusty, I guess, and just put them aside for when I need to add them to. So as you see, I've been sauteing the onions. They're soft. I added the red bell pepper and the green bell pepper. I've actually gone through the beans and I've cleaned them out. One other seasoning that I forgot to mention, sorry about that, it was the first time I'm doing this, so I didn't have it quite together, is cumin. We don't put a whole lot of that only because it can be quite overwhelming in the dish, but we will put a little bit. So now, since everything is soft, I'm going to go ahead and add the black beans. I am going to go ahead and add some red wine. I'll have measurements for you and all of this later, but you do put quite a bit of red wine, only because it really gives it a whole lot of flavor. Now I'm going to add some cumin. And again, I'll give you the approximate measurements here. I'm just kind of eyeball it right now. Some salt. And the salt, I'm going to put some in there now, but towards the end, once it's already cooked, I'll probably end up tasting it and making sure that it is enough salt. I'm going to add the bay leaves, and I'm going to add some pepper and some water. And then here's what it looks like before I turn on the pressure cooker. I ended up using about half of the bottle of red wine. Then I actually filled my pressure cooker up with water. I'm trying to see where the measurement is on this pressure cooker. Oh, here we go. I'd say about 2/3 of the way up with water. I added some ground black pepper, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn on the actual pressure cooker. So put the lid on, make sure the valve is closed, and I am going to put, oops, I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna hit beans, and then I'm actually gonna do just a couple more minutes, only because I feel like the softer they are, the creamier the black beans are, which, by the way, these black beans are really, really amazing the next day. So it's always great to make them one day in advance, because the next day the beans are super, super creamy. So I will get back with you as soon as it's done. It looks like once the pressure cooker has stopped cooking, the beans are soft. I've hit the saute function to kind of reduce the liquid just a bit. As you see, they are completely soft, and it's very, very watery, as you see here. But as it actually reduces, and especially once it sits overnight, it'll get very thick and creamy.